Wherever you're at in your love story or your personal life, you're exactly where you need to be, and to just really focus on what your desires are and put that out there for the universe to bring into your heart and soul.
Welcome to Love Stories, a relationship podcast for successful women, where we talk about love, dating, relationships, and how great love stories are made. Whether you're searching for the one, you're madly in love, or simply curious about romantic relationships, this podcast is for you. I'm Charlene Byars. Each week, you'll hear from women, couples, and experts, and all the ins and outs on how to create your own love story. I am so passionate about this subject, and I'm so excited to share all the things that you can apply to create a beautiful love story of your own. Cheers to great love. Welcome back to the Love Stories podcast. I'm your host, Charlene Byars. Hello. All right. I just love sharing conversations I've had because I think they're really helpful. And I was talking to a client recently about dating in this modern world. And one of the biggest mistakes I see women make is getting attached too quickly. You meet a guy and he seems great. And suddenly you're imagining your wedding day, planning out your future with him. I mean, we've all been there, right? But here's the thing. Dating is all about getting to know different people. And it's important you date different men to see in time who is truly the right fit for you. So, bottom line, the conversation came down to this. Take your time meeting men, different men, and getting to know them. And do not rush the process. Let's talk about the tip of the week, which is accessing your feminine energy. It's a process, not a destination. It's not something that you can achieve once and then forget about it. It's an ongoing practice that requires intention and attention. Stepping into your feminine energy will change your dating life and bring a whole other caliber of men your way. You may find that some days you may feel more in touch with your feminine essence than others, and that's okay. The important thing is to keep working on it, to keep exploring and experiencing different ways of accessing your feminine energy. To get started, prioritize your own self-care and your self-love. Take your time for yourself. Do the things that bring you joy, whether it's taking a bubble bath, getting a massage, or indulging in your favorite hobby. It's time to honor your needs and tap into your feminine power. Remember, your feminine energy is guided by your intuition. It's getting out of your head and back into your body. I am so excited for my guest today, the amazing Dee Evans. Dee operates multiple businesses with her husband, Sam. Her mantra is keeping a positive mindset and finding gratitude in all of life's circumstances. Dee and Sam met on their own personal development journeys following each other's divorces and found their mission aligned with each other. Together, they focus on educating others in many aspects of wellness and creating internal changes that lead to external results. What I loved about my conversation with Dee is that she was a woman who didn't give up on love. And after a failed marriage, she took the time to heal and do the work, to be ready to find love again. So inspiring. So with no further ado, Dee Evans. Well, hello, Dee. Hi. Oh, I'm so excited to have you here today. First, I want to say thank you so much for coming on, and I'm really excited to hear about your love story and everything. Yeah, sorry we had little technical difficulties, but we're good now. We're good. We are so good. But I cannot wait to hear about your story and your journey. And I was thinking about something. I was thinking about how do I want to start with you? And I think that I would like to know, like, where you come from the beginning. Like, how was life before you got married? What was life or, you met your husband, all that kind of stuff. So how will we start from there, hon?
Yeah, I also
Okay,
just want
cool.
to say thank you for having me on. Nothing excites me more than sharing love and excitement for being in love and having love. So thank you for
Oh,
having me.
thank you. Oh, that's amazing. And ladies, and as you know what I love about this is that, I've been able to bring women like Dee, women that have been able to figure things out and you're going to hear it today. You're going to hear her struggles and her wins and all the stuff, but also really be able to celebrate her love story and her husband. So let's get going. I want to hear all this. Okay. Okay,
Yeah.
mama. Where did you start out? Where were you born, hun?
Yeah, so I grew up in Utah and I grew up in a small town. Well, it was a small town then. It's called Saratoga Springs and it's out by Utah Lake. And it used to be like a really cool hot springs and resort area. And then they started to develop it. So we were one of like the first houses out there in that area. And now the area has grown just immensely. It's crazy. So, but yeah, so I grew up out there. I mean, I bounced around a couple places, but that's like main place for my childhood that I
Did
consider
you so
home.
you went to, like, school the whole time there, anywhere from, kindergarten all the way up to high school?
Yeah,
Okay,
so
and
I
who did you
actually
what?
yeah, I went to kindergarten and school in Lehigh and American Fork because Saratoga was so far out there and there was no schools there at the time. But yeah, I've been in the area for Utah
You've been
County
in that
for
area. Now,
most of
did you
my life.
grow up with, like, your mom and your dad? Like, what was life like actually when you were a
Yeah.
little girl? Like, what was that like for you?
So I had a very blessed upbringing. I grew up with both my parents and they are still married to this day. They Yeah, they've been a great example of love and compassion and a good dynamic of understanding each other and being able to compromise and just work through just about anything. So they've been a really good example to me. And I grew up with both of them and went to school out there. And then I even continued to stay with them just into college as well. So that's been a fun adventure of just getting to see them throughout the whole
Throughout the
process
whole
and
thing
them
and
be
their
my
relationship.
role
So
model.
their relationship, okay, so you grew up with, which is, that's actually really cool because a lot of times, I talk to women and sometimes they didn't get to grow up like honestly seeing a healthy, loving relationship. And I'm really curious. I mean, that had to obviously play a big role in your life and you going out and about, trying to attract or think about. So when you were young and obviously you didn't know it then, but your parents, it was probably just always natural for you, right? Your parents just got along, things were cool. Um, what did you think about? Did you consider like thinking about yourself, like, oh, I want to get married too? Or was that like something that you really wanted to do? Or what was that like for you?
Yeah, so I always had a visual of getting married. I didn't think it was going to be so early on. I was like, oh, I'm not going to get married till I'm like 27, and I'm not going to have any kids till I'm like 35. And growing up in Utah, there's definitely a culture of everybody gets married young here.
Oh,
Everybody
they
gets married.
do.
Yeah, they get
Okay, so like
married.
what's young D? Like what's give me like back where you like give me an average age. What's an
Yeah.
average age when people are getting married?
From 18 to 22 is like the average marriage age here, especially in Utah County. Like it's right out of high school or right. We have a religious culture here. And so it's right when they get back from their mission. And so a lot of people just get married super quick. It's just like the area in the background is find love, get married quick,
So that's
and get
part of
married
the
young.
is that was that part of your upbringing or not necessarily?
It's part of my upbringing, but the religious aspect of getting married quick wasn't not necessarily my parents didn't push that on us at
They did
all.
not. Okay.
Yeah,
So they were cool. They were like, you know what, you're gonna get married when you
your
want
thing.
to.
Yeah,
Okay. So then okay,
very
so
much
let's talk about this. So you are growing up there, you're going to college, and then you are living with your parents, right? Is that what you said?
yeah.
And then you said you came from this small town that, everyone had these expectations that you get married young and you meet your person young. And you were thinking, okay, yeah, I want to get married, but I have these different expectations.
Mm.
So before you even met your husband, we even get into that. Um, did you date before? Did like what was that like for you?
They called me 2 week D. I did
Talk
date.
to me, mama. What happened?
I it wasn't my I was very particular. One, I was like a teenager when I started dating, and I was very much like I don't want to date more than like 2 dates because then I'm going to get pregnant. I had this idea that like that's what happens. Like, and I don't want to be a teenage mom. And there's nothing against being a teenage mom. I just was like, that
No,
terrified
of
me.
course. That's a
So,
lot. Yes.
yeah.
No, you're gonna die. I was pregnant 3 months before I graduated high school.
Oh my
And
goodness.
yes, and I know, Dee, listen to this. And I
So,
remember I was just like that. I was like, I don't want to get pregnant. I want to make sure I don't get pregnant. I actually was a virgin. And I still thought I was going to get pregnant. And then, things happened and I did get pregnant, but I was the same. I was like, oh my gosh, like, I don't want to get, I grew up from a culture that like, they didn't really talk about that stuff. Like I literally thought like, you just touch a guy, you're going to get pregnant. So
yeah.
I was like, so I can imagine, I'm not
Yeah,
as naive
that
anymore,
was
obviously.
very much my mentality. Like I was scared. So I was like 2 dates, like, and then they can't get close to me. So that's it. Like, so I just didn't have, I didn't have very intense relationships, but I actually met my first husband when I was 17 years old. And yeah, so
How did you meet him?
I was going to the college because I am hard of hearing. So I am severe hearing loss in both ears. I was born with it and I wear hearing aids. But at the time, they didn't have subtitles and they were putting everything on a projector screen for the high school students, which was they had what was called a concurrent enrollment class. So you could get ahead in high school by taking college classes. And I was for sure like, oh, I'm going to get ahead. So I'm going to take these college classes. And then when they started the college classes and I couldn't hear anything, they were like, oh, because of your disability, you're able to go to the college. So I started going to the college for my schooling.
Okay,
And
because they had the capability for you to be able to hear.
yeah, because I can be in person, and I didn't have high tech hearing aids at that time, and I didn't have an ability to do subtitles, and I heavily rely on subtitles without hearing it. So, anyways, I get to go to the college, and I'm this young 17-year-old girl at the college in the college classes, and I meet my first husband.
I can
And he's
imagine you. Oh my gosh, I can imagine this. Okay.
yeah, and I had a great friend, and so he's like, come over to my ex-husband at the time. He was living with his friend, and they had a little trailer home, mobile trailer home on like right outside of the college campus. So they're like, come over for a barbecue, and I'm thinking, okay, like I'll go over and hang out for a barbecue, and that's how me and my first husband met, and it was a young love. It
It
was
was a
instant.
young love. Because
It
how old was
was.
the guy? So you were 17.
Yeah, and he was 3 years difference than me, so it wasn't, like, a huge gap, like and I mean, going into 18, so, I actually was, like, trying to break up with him, and I was using my 17 like, "I'm a minor card, you can't date me." And that didn't work for him, nor us, we were just young and in love, and
You were young and in love. He was like, no, I don't want that. We're gonna stay together.
yeah, it was
So how long
beautiful.
were you with okay, so you're dating this guy, you're 17 years old. Now you're like, I'm at a college thing, I'm dealing with the hearing thing, but I'm doing better because I'm over here. I meet this guy, and then what happens?
Yeah, and so we start dating and we're, like, instantly in love, like, that kinda love where you just don't wanna be apart.
Oh
Um
yeah, 24/7.
Young love, just 24/7, and, I actually then was like, "Oh, well, I live with my parents," and his parents lived a mile down the road. So they were super close, and then I was like, "Well, you should just move home and move back in with your parents, and then we can continue to date until I'm 18 or whatever." So that's exactly what he did, and, because I tried to break up with him and that didn't work, and he wanted to stay with me, so then we ended up doing that for 3 years and then
So
decided
why were you trying to break up with him?
that was my first relationship, and I didn't get to date much, like, seriously, and I was young, and so I was like,
So
well,
you felt like maybe this is just too soon. This is too
yeah,
much, a little
too
bit. Okay.
soon. Still
What
had the
about the
fear
guy?
of getting
What
pregnant.
was the guy like? I'm sorry, Dee. I get so into these stories. I get so
Yeah, no,
curious.
you're
Hold on.
good.
Okay. Because I want to hear. I got to hear everything. Okay.
Love it.
What was the guy's personality like? Was it? It wasn't now looking back that there was something off about him, or no? You just think that you were more in your like I'm in love, but maybe this is too young. What was really happening with you then?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think anything was off, like, I think we were both young. He was a great guy. He's extremely loving, supportive, charming, and I go off of, like, colors too. He was a very like much so emotional blue, like just very like loving, supportive blue color. And that's kind of how I describe him. Very supportive, awesome guy. And I just feel like I was a little young and naive. Like I just didn't, nothing else mattered but being completely encompassed in love. Like in one and feeling wanted, feeling accepted, especially at a young age. Like it was the first time I experienced like someone having that much interest in me. So I was like, oh, this is everything. But great guy. Like he's a father to my child, and I still love him to death. Like I have a very unconditional love for him, and I always will, and I will always speak as highly as I can, even despite the circumstances that we went through. I think he's an awesome guy, and I
He's a
just
good person, good people.
yeah, yeah, I
Yeah.
just want him to live a happy, fulfilled life as well.
So what about this great guy? So then so how long until you guys actually get married? How long were you dating him and then boom, we get married? And then, so you went from, okay, so I'm, young, he's living in the dad's house. Are we like talking 6 months later? What happens? Like what happens after
Yeah,
this?
so he moves home, and then we obviously were really close, and so we're hanging out for the next year and a half, almost 2 years, just dating. And then he finally I actually went to go break up with him because I'm like, okay, now here I am at like 18, 19. I'm like, I'm looking to like explore other options. Like we've been in this dating cycle for a long time, and I haven't got to like get out there in the world and just learn and have different kinds of experiences. And so I went to go break up with him, and he's like, "No, no, you can't do that. Like, I love you with all my heart." And I was like, "I love you too." Like, but I do feel like I'm young, and
You
but
felt,
I
you knew something was like, I'm not necessarily ready. I
yeah,
love him, but it's not my time. But still, you're
right.
not listening to yourself. That's what women we do because we're young. We
And
don't
back then,
know.
you're young. I wasn't emotionally aware. I wasn't equipped with the tools that I have now. But I loved him. So I mean, he a month later proposes, and that's why he didn't want me to break up with him because he had plans to propose to me. And and I loved him, and that felt right. Like I knew that was part of my process. Like I was like, "Oh my gosh, I'm supposed to marry this guy." And everything went beautifully. Like and it was the perfect process, and it was exactly how it should have been. And I know that now too because I got my son from him, who's the love of my life. Like I absolutely love him. And so I was like, that was exactly how it was meant to be. And it took me a minute to accept that, of course, when I was going through a divorce. But now that I see that, I'm like, everything happened exactly how it was supposed to. And what a beautiful love story. What a beautiful chapter of my life in my young 20s.
Well, I think that's amazing that you actually were able to have, a young love like that, that you can actually look back and say, we're not together anymore. And
Yeah.
I want to find out, we want to hear about that. Well, we're not together anymore. And I had a son with him. And even though there was a part of me, I was crazy in love with him, but I also knew there was this part of me that like, maybe I need to slow down, but we didn't have those gut feelings. And ladies, I mean, isn't that so relatable? I mean, how many times have you, been in relationships with men and you're crazy about the guy, but you're also like, I don't know, maybe something's off, and just being able to listen to that. I'm not
Yes.
saying anything happened with you. That's maybe good that you didn't listen to that in your case because you ended up, having your son. But
Yes.
you get married with him. You're in love with this guy. You're crazy in love. You get married. And did you get pregnant pretty quickly?
Yeah. Yeah, I did within the first year. And yeah, it all happened so fast, obviously. So like quickly get married. And then, I mean, a year later, have this little baby that I wasn't expecting necessarily at the
You're like, I
time.
got a baby. You're
Like,
like, oh
well,
my God.
here we
How old
are.
were you at the time when you had the baby?
I was 21. It
21. Yeah. So
just barely turned 21.
just barely turned
Yeah,
21.
just
So now
fresh
you're like
out.
a
You know,
mom.
everybody is at 21, they're just, like, getting out there, they're excited, they're young, going to college, doing the things, and here I am, like, married with a baby.
Married with the baby. No, seriously, that was me too. I told you, like I had Joshua, I got technically pregnant at 19, and then we got married. And then I had Joshua right when no, I'm lying. I'm lying. I got pregnant at 18, graduated high school, get married, and then I had him at 19 years old.
That's
The
crazy.
same thing. It
Wow.
was crazy too, girlfriend. Like, because I was like, oh my God, everyone's going off to college and doing their things. I mean, it was just my life. It was just what it was at the time. That's
Yep.
it's just how it was. You know how that is. I was all mama. I was like, okay, we're doing this. And it's the love of my life too. It's my
Yeah.
first son. Yeah. It's
Yeah.
my biggest blessing, even though I'm not with the father either. It didn't work out. But I just want to say
Yep.
there's hope, ladies. Listen, 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 listen.
There's
There's
hope.
hope. It's because, sometimes like listen, life takes turns and all these things. And sometimes even if we're not with the father of our children, it doesn't mean that there's still not love. It doesn't mean that there's still not this great relationship out there for us. It just
100%.
means, you know what? It's okay. Okay. So how
Yeah.
long were you with this guy? And then it ends. And what happened? Because
Yeah.
what was the main thing that happened?
So, yeah, we were together. We were married for 6 years, and we kind of had a rough go around with a lot of different things. Obviously, right after I had my baby, that having a baby obviously is a hard thing, and then I got the responsibility of taking on my brother and his at the time girlfriend's kids, and they had a 2-year-old and a set of twins. And so here I am at 21 and 21, and I have 4 kids under the age of 2, and my little guy and the twins were 5 days apart, and I'm taking care of them with the help of my parents. We're juggling this dynamic of I just had a baby, both my parents are working full-time jobs, but the kids need someone to watch them because my brother and his girlfriend couldn't. And so I have these kids, and then I also
And
have,
you're 21, and this is your first time mom. So
yeah,
not only are you dealing with come on, seriously, having a child is a lot. And especially, right? It's a lot. It's a lot. And
yeah,
being a first time mom, oh my gosh, that's a
yeah,
lot. And
yeah.
then on top, okay, listen, I have, okay, you're getting me all crazy right now. This is a lot. I have, hold on.
I love it.
I have twins too. And so yes, I have a pair of twins. And when I had my twins, I had 2 other kids. So I already had 2 boys, and then these twins came.
Oh
And
my
this is what
goodness.
I know in my life, what happened to me. So I don't know how you did this, because I truly feel from the bottom of my heart when those twins came, it's so much because there's 2,
Oh
and
my.
like it's totally a different world than a singleton. That's what we call them, singleton. Multiples. And I
Yep.
remember the first 3 years, Dee, I don't remember.
You don't
Mama,
how you know
no,
how you made it through.
no, girlfriend, no. Do you know what I'm talking about? You dealt with twins. I
You're like,
actually don't know.
how you
I
made it
feel
through.
I apologize to my other children, and they're like, "Mom, stop." To this day, I'm like, I am so sorry. I literally checked out.
How'd you make it? Yeah, you don't even know.
How was this even possible, girlfriend?
It's wild. That's where I realized, like, we're so capable. Like, we are so amazing and so dynamic, and we can do so much more than our limited mind thinks. That's
Definitely.
when I
That
truly
is
learned
just
that.
okay. So then, fast forward. Then, so now you're been married with him. You have these kids. Now you're like in this whole other world. Like you're like, I'm a caregiver now for everyone. It's like this wasn't like no, seriously, because you were going to college. Did you
Yeah.
already planned on thinking of like things that you wanted to do, or you weren't sure what you wanted to do? You know what I mean?
No,
Like
I
I'm
had
talking.
plans. I did graduate with my degree in science, and I wanted to actually go into biochemistry originally. And then, of course, babies and kids happened, and I was in the biochem degree, and I was like, this is not going to come through. Like, there's just no way. I have 4 kids under the age of 2. I'm lucky if I can just take with what I've already done and get a degree in science.
Mama,
So
you're lucky. No, no, no. Let's be really real. You're lucky if you can even go to the bathroom. Let's
I know.
talk about what are you talking about? No, 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 no. I'm not even talking about. You're like, no, babe. Ladies. No, come on. My mama's out there. Come on. Are you guys relating to this or what? Like
Yeah.
this is like, look at me. I'm not even raising them anymore, and I'm getting hot. I'm like, hot. This is a lot.
Yeah. That's exactly it.
So
Yeah.
what happened, girlfriend? Seriously. So you're married to your man. You're like
I'm
depleted,
juggling all these kids. He's running a business. I'm starting to support him in the business, trying to do the back end and the bookkeeping and scheduling while juggling these kids. And then obviously my time and attention was going into the children. And that's where I will take full responsibility for the way that my love life went then. I'm like, I honestly like wholeheartedly poured into those kids. They were babies. They needed my undivided attention. And by the time the night came, I'm spent. I'm like, I'm sorry, I'm not here. I'm ready to go to bed. I don't want to connect. And so that was where I dropped the ball. And of course, he felt like he had to keep up in other areas. And so he struggled with some addictions and some things that were hard for him
Right.
running the
That's how he's
business.
dealing with it.
Yeah. And so I tried to support him through those addictions. And I really did. I was like, this is unfortunate. I mean, it was stuff that he was prescribed too. So it was like a really hard situation there. Um, and so I did it. I juggled it for a while. And then unfortunately, some other things happened. And then he ended up like needing to go into an inpatient. And I was like, I will still make this work. I'll file a year separation, and you'll go get your healing and you'll get yourself put together and get out of this tough spot. And then I will continue to work on myself, and then we'll come back together. And so we went to therapy too. I brought on a marriage therapist. And at that time I had some girls reaching out and saying, hey, your husband's pursuing me. And I'm just thinking, oh, we're at this point now, like I could deal with some of the other problems, but now it's an infidelity problem, which I personally struggle with, because I am like, I'm not going to diminish my self-worth over your decisions. And
Let's talk about that. Let's talk about that for 1 second. I want people to hear this.
Yeah.
Okay. I have been a relationship coach for a very long time. And everyone's different. But I'm going to tell you something from the bottom of my heart. The one thing that people, especially us women, we just don't recover is infidelity. And for me personally, if I'm married to my husband, regardless. So regardless, this is my personal, I'm telling you my personal view on this. If I'm married to my husband and my husband steps out on our marriage, that's mine right there. Yep. That's it. There's a lot of stuff that I can deal with, but I'm like, because that's the one thing that you and I always have, like that respect and togetherness. So if you're going to go that way, then I don't feel, me personally, that I hear often sometimes, but I really don't really know the most. There's people that say, well, there's been infidelity and we worked it out. That's okay. But I'm telling you, let's talk about the majority of women. The majority of women, they're like, I'm out. And I understand that. And it's not, to me, it wasn't even a struggle. It's like black and white for me. Like, I'm like, listen.
That's your boundary.
That really is, Mama. That really is. And I think everyone needs to understand that in any type of relationship, it doesn't matter your mother, your father, your Holy Spirit, it doesn't matter who it is. You as a human being have to also have your boundaries
and honor your standard. Yeah.
Yes. What you were like, hey, listen, I'll put up with a lot of shit. Excuse me. Like you did. You're like, we can handle a lot of stuff and this is hard. But this is one thing that I'm
not one. Yeah.
So that was it. And not one, but there's the one thing.
Yeah. So when I found that out, I was like, look, I love you and I want you to go and to do whatever it is you need to do. And it broke me. It honestly broke me. I was shattered beyond what I can even comprehend. I thought the whole world was over because everything I had expected, because I'm like, if I'm going to get married, I'm going to live happily ever after, right? Like, that was my expectation.
You were going one time, Mama, right? You're like, this is it. We're going in for the long, yeah.
I'm doing this for life. I'm committed for life. And I think everyone has that goal when they go into a marriage or relationship. It's like, this is it. Like, I'm marrying you because you're the love of my life and I want this to be forever, right? And so that's what I had, that expectation. So I was shattered, and I had to make a really hard decision, but I had to make a decision to better myself and to get myself out of a self-sabotaging cycle. And I had to get myself up off of my feet and be like, hey, I have to love me. Like no one else, I'm looking for love for him. He's giving it somewhere else. I have to find me. Where's Dee? And I had lost myself in kids, in husband, and so I lost myself completely. And that's when I hit rock bottom and I just broke. And I can remember just thinking, this is it. Like I've tried it. I gave it my all. Like it's kind of like when you work so hard at something and it just gets stripped from you and you weren't even the one that wanted it to be crumbled. And someone hits your sandcastle and you're like,
and yes,
so hard. to build that.
No, who doesn't? And not
Yeah.
only that, like realistically, it takes two people to have a relationship.
Yeah.
So if you can be all in all you want. Like honestly, like you can be like, I'm all in, I'm doing all my job. But if that other person is not all in, then that's there's gonna be an issue here because it takes two
Yeah.
people to have a relationship. It just takes two people to have a relationship.
Yeah.
And
But
so
that was a
obviously,
beautiful chapter. Like, I
yeah,
love that chapter. I love everything about it. And I've learned to accept it and to come to terms with it. And I'm like, I really like love is such a powerful, powerful, high vibrating frequency of energy. And I choose that over all else every time. And I've made that decision in my mind that I will always operate from a place of love. And so, yeah, I spent 3 years just on my own journey. I was like, I'm not interested in men anymore. I'm not interested in love. I'm not interested in anything. I'm so broken that I have no desire to even find, seek, or even care to have love other than for myself, which was my self journey. And I'm so glad that I got to go through that. Yeah. I mean, I'm the person I am today because I learned to love myself. And I took that time to really discover me and sit with me. And I had never done that in my life before. I had always had someone. And so it is the first time D's with D. Like, who is D?
D's
What does
with
D
D.
want? Yeah. Like,
Oh, that's so wonderful.
so
And
I went
and
down
and I
that
love that
path.
you're saying that. No, I love that you're saying that. I want everyone to hear that. Because what you did was you took a situation that was probably like the hardest decision you ever had to make in your life. And you found yourself, like broken, like really broken. When you're not broken, but you are definitely devastated. But I know that feeling. We feel that we're broken. But
Mhm.
what it is that having to go through something like that will shake you down to your core. And especially you being a mom and being a woman that, you valued marriage and your parents, had this marriage. And so I can only imagine, mama, the layers of what was going on with you. I can really
Yeah.
honestly, but for you to be able to step away from that. And I know, and ladies, and there was all kinds of stuff. Divorce is not easy. I can only imagine that was a
Lots of
freaking
little details.
nightmare. Oh yeah, yeah, but it is a nightmare, right?
Mhm.
And so, but once you were able to make that decision for yourself and honor yourself and realize, I believe in love, I believe in marriage, but no, I still have boundaries. I still have
Mhm.
things that come on, like that they're not going to work for me, and that's okay. And I always say, sometimes, you can love someone, but also be grateful that they're not in our lives anymore that way, in a
Yes.
certain way, and it's okay. And we send
Mhm.
people with love, right?
Mhm.
Sometimes you don't have to, it doesn't have to be dark and heavy. You can remember the good times and you send people with love. But
Mhm.
anyway, so fast forward. So then you, Missy, you get to go and you get to find yourself. And so you're a single mama now for the
Yeah.
first time in your life. And you're a single mama. And not only that, you're really like discovering yourself, discovering like what it is to be just you, what it is to pour just your love into your child. And so 3 years go by, and then what happened?
Yeah, so then I finally get to a point where I'm like, okay, I'm so okay with me and I love who I am and I love me and I can be freely me. I mean, I can go out with all my 9 girlfriends and all their husbands and I'm like, it's all good. I'll meet somebody and just dance and have a good time. But
You
like
say,
I'm
I have
on
a
a
good
date with
time.
me. Yeah, like and I've never been more excited to just be on a date with me and then like explore opportunity. And so, but I hit a point where I actually went through my journal the other night that I had been writing when I back during that time, and I hit a point where I was longing for this connection. And I was like, I wrote in there, I just want someone to share things with. I want someone to be able to laugh with. I want someone, and I had tons of friends, but I wanted someone to more intimately connect with
It's
on
different,
it.
isn't it? Talk about that. That's what
Yeah,
I'm trying to tell you. It's totally different.
it's
There's one
different.
thing about being alone and finding yourself and having peace. And I notice that, and especially with women, once we get to that place and we have this like peace with ourselves, you have another shift that starts happening. You're like, wait a minute,
Yep.
I'm really good with myself, but
Yeah,
I also
that's what
want
it was.
someone for me,
Mhm.
someone to
Yeah,
share life with, my man, my companion. You
yeah.
can't get that. You can have great friendships and you can have all kinds of stuff, but there's something different between a
We
friendship
long for
and an
companionship.
intimacy
Yeah,
with your companion, with your man. So
we
that's
do.
so you started itching. You started itching. You're like, oh, okay,
Yeah.
I'm ready.
It's a human thing. We long for that companionship, that deeper connection. It's the way we're designed. And so, yeah, I hit this point where I'm like, I just want connection. I want connection. And I'm like, if I'm going to go out there and look for connection, I want XYZ. And I wrote a whole list of things. I was very vague, but I was like, I want ambitious. I want successful. I want someone who is emotionally intelligent. I had a whole list. And I actually went to a meditation in Snow Canyon, St. George. It's a really beautiful place. And at this point in my life, I was crying for that, like, companionship, that more intimate connection. And so I was like, well, where would I find that? And they're like, well, think about your inner circle. And I'm like, no, nobody. Like, outer circle, nobody. Outer circle, no, nobody. Okay, well, where would you meet that person? I'm like, I don't know. Where do you meet people? And so I'm like, and I was anti-dating app because I'm like, that's everybody's best self. So I'm like thinking there's no way, but they're like, well, what if you just open your mind? What if you open your mind to something you haven't tried? Swallow your pride and just put it out there just to see. So I was like, no, not doing it. And my friend was like, I'll walk you through it. So I was like, okay. So she gets me on this dating app called Hinge. I'm on there for 12 hours. And mind you, I had been putting out there what I wanted, like writing in my journal.
No, it sounds like to me that let me repeat what you're just saying. Like this is it literally sounds like to me. Okay, so let's make this clear so everyone can hear her journey. So she cleared herself. She was able to kind of like find herself and really get that peace and really figure out what is it that I actually want in a partner.
Yep.
What is it that I'm actually looking for? How do I actually want to feel with a man? Like what kind of man do I want to show up? Because it's not about just the external, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's the internal. It's how you feel around him. It's his character. It's all the things. So then you found yourself. You're already starting, Mama. You already started manifesting this guy. You already were putting that. Oh, yes, you were. You were already putting that out in the universe. Okay. Yes. So then, and let me tell you, I want to say something about dating apps. Because for me, I've learned, this is what I teach my clients. So dating apps, ladies, what I've learned about dating apps is that dating apps are actually a great tool. They're a great tool to meet different people because you don't know, like there's harder to find sometimes, a lot of men in certain places. So a dating app, we don't use it like you have to get married, you have to hook up. No. I always have women use it as a tool just to start getting to know different people, to start seeing kind of what's out there and seeing, and having that opportunity. And think about that. Like if you put all your eggs in one basket and you don't give yourself opportunities to meet, different men, then you're not going to be able to meet different men. So you were open. That's really good.
I was open to seeing. I was not open to pursuing. I was like, just like you said, I'm like, I'm going to just see what's out there. I am not going to take a date from this because this scares the living daylights out of me.
I'm just going to see. I'm open.
Yeah, very much so. So I was like, okay, like that's good. And I was very specific in what I wanted and I knew exactly what I wanted. I think being on my own for so long and then knowing what I did not want and then actually writing down a list of things that I'm like, this is what I'm looking for, helped me so much because I had clarity. I think the universe gives you what you're looking for when you actually have clarity. If you don't, then life just kind of takes you and you'll get what you're seeking or what you're looking for, but it might not be in the way that you wanted to design it.
Oh, I love that you said that. Oh, say that again. I agree with you. I think what you're thinking, repeat that again.
Yeah, it might not be in the way, I mean, life will just happen regardless. Life is going to happen to you. People will come and go into your life. But if you actually are intentional and you design it, then that's what you're going to get out of it.
Oh, ladies, did you hear that? That's exactly true.
It's good.
It's really good.
And it's true. Good. Like I can attest to it because I've experienced it myself. So it's not voodoo stuff. So then, so I came across the profile. I went through hundreds of profiles with my friends, just joking around. We're laughing. I'm like, there's nobody I would even date in here. This is all superficial. They've got their best, flexing on top of the mountain photo or in the gym mirror. And I'm like, this is so superficial. It's like everybody's best macho man pick. And I'm like, not interested. This doesn't amuse me. But I did come across a couple. So I sent out maybe like 5 hearts total. And I was like, I'm done with this. Within that time, I sent out one or likes. I guess it was likes. You got, yeah, not hearts. It's a like. Um, I don't even know. Like I forgot. I was on there for 12 hours and my friends were helping me run it. So yeah, I come across this guy and he's different. He has a turban on his head and I'm like, that's a vibe, period. That's it. I'm like, you're different. You're a vibe, period. And then he comes back and he goes immediately, hi, I'm Sam. Welcome to my life. And I'm going, wow, like that was quick. And I didn't expect, yeah, like I mean, this is within like couple like minutes of me having it. And I was on there for 12 hours before meeting him, which is wild. But so he's like, welcome to my life. And I'm like, oh, this guy thinks he's like special. He's like, well, welcome
You're
to
like,
my
oh,
life.
my
Yeah.
life. You're like, wow, this is different.
Okay. Yeah.
But I really kind of like it.
Yeah. Well, I was like, if your life's so special, I'm like, oh, he thinks he's like really has an awesome life. I'm like, okay, if your life's so awesome, I'm like, what's something you want to do that you haven't yet done? And so I asked him, and he goes, oh, I have a bucket list. I host a bucket list mastermind, and I want to send it to you. And I'm like, I have a bucket list too. Let's compare and see if our bucket lists align. And he's like, well, I got to send it. I can't send it. You can't send any attachments on this dating app. So I'm like, oh, okay. He's like, give me your number. So he got my number. Like,
He got your number. He's smooth
he was
operator.
quick. And at first I was kind of like hesitant. I was like, oh,
Operator.
whatever. Like, sure.
Yeah.
So then he
But
sends
you
me,
gave him your number.
yeah.
So you were
He
intrigued by him. There was something
There's
here.
something enough for me to be okay with giving this guy my number. So yeah, I give it to him and he sends me his bucket list and I'm like, oh my gosh, like, and I send mine and they're side by side and we have so many of the same things. Like, you want to do that? I want to do that too. I'm like, wow, that's cool. So anyways, but I'm like,
What are the odds? No, ladies, like seriously, what the hell? That is so cool. What are
wild.
the odds that you have the one that you're like, I'm not going to do anything. And then he says, I have a bucket list. And really, like, seriously, and you're like, I have a bucket list too.
Yeah.
Okay,
Let's
that's
try it.
crazy. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, so
So
I
then what?
actually show my friend, she's like, you're talking to somebody? Because my friends all wanted me to date everybody. They're like, you've been single forever. You're talking to somebody? I'm like, yeah. And they're like, let me see. And then they're like, oh, I know him. He's married with 3 kids. And I'm like, ah, run. Like, ghosted him. Like, straight up was like, I am not texting back.
You're
That
like,
is so not
no.
right. Yeah, I'm like, cringe. That's like the existence of my last marriage. And I was like, absolutely not. So I don't text back. And he sent me a big long message trying to get to know me, and I just did him. And so I was like, I'm not doing this. And then I had this weird, this is intuitive too. Like, then I had this weird intuitive feeling that was like, no, text him back. I'm like, that goes against everything that I'm okay with. My friend said he was married with 3 kids.
Okay.
But then
What was it? It was just a feeling?
yeah, this feeling was like, you don't know that. Like, you don't know his story. You haven't got, so like, it's not right of you to just ghost him. And I'm like, oh, okay. So then after ghosting him for a day, I finally just texted him back, but I was super short. I was like, thanks. That's cool. Well, the minute I send a text message, he calls me. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this guy's calling me. Like, what do I do?
Oh, sure. You're like, I got a phone call.
Like, I don't know what to do. So
How
I
do you answer
answer it.
the phone?
I'm like, after freaking out for a second, I finally answer it. I'm like, hello? And he's like, hey, what are you doing tonight? And I'm like, oh, and I had wanted to set up another date. My friends were all going country dancing. So I was like, oh, I'm going country dancing with like all of my friends. I'm like the 9th reel, but I love it. And he's like, I'm coming. And I'm like, oh no, like, hang on, wait just a second. I gotta like make sure it's cool with them. Like, I don't know what the plans are. Like, he just invites himself. And I'm like, whoa. Like, this is not gonna work. I'll call you back, whatever, hang up. Because I wanted to talk to my friends and be like, should I let this guy come? I don't know who he is. And it was probably the best situation because I had all my friends. If I was going to meet somebody on a dating app, I'm like, it would be best to do
But
it.
the girls
with
were
all
there.
people.
The girls had you. They're like, yeah, you're most likely not a serial killer. Yeah, I got you.
Right. So, but then he sends me a text message, and because I had told him, no, I have to ask them. Well, immediately after, he sends me a text message and he said, I reserved this place for dinner for you and all your friends. Meet me here. Like right away without me. And I was like, oh, well, so I text them. I'm like, you guys cool with this place? Like, he just booked it. I don't know what our dinner plans were. And they were all like, well, we can all go there. That's fine. All me and my friends go and show up at this dinner reservation that some random guy I just met
Yeah.
made.
Yeah. You're like, okay, can this be any more
They all
crazy?
had they all had their significant others too. So I'm like the ninth wheel. And then we get there first and he comes waltzing in and they're like, that's your guy. And I'm like, no, that can't. Like, that's your guy. And I'm like, oh, okay. Well, he comes in, he sits down, and it was instant connection. Like, it was like unbelievably wild. I felt like I was introducing them to a long lost friend or a longtime lover that I just barely met. And we start talking and we forget to order because we're talking. All my friends love him. Like, it's a weird, energetic, like, harmony. It was
So his energy was honestly, his energy was clean and pure and good, just good energy.
good-hearted. Yeah.
Good-hearted. Like, you
I
all can
throw
feel
off
it.
of energy. Like, I really do, because I'm hard of hearing. And so my other senses compensate. And so energy for me, I'm like, I can read into people better and I can feel things. And I felt really good with them. And so then we went out country dancing and the chemistry was obviously there and we're dancing and we've connected.
I love that you're saying that, because I preach this all the time.
Love it.
I preach this all the time. How do you feel around that person? Because you could, if you really allow yourself to just slow down a little bit, right? And you have just a different in tune with it. But I'm talking for any of us women. We all have this intuition. We all have this ability to feel something's off or something's not off. And often when you are, meeting a guy and you, a lot of times women are like, oh, I don't know, like, he's really nice, but I feel something's off. Then something's off.
Yep.
But you were the opposite. So ladies, did you hear that? So you have to be able to trust how you feel.
Yeah.
And trust into that, because your body's going to tell you. Your body's going to say, something's not right, right? You know that. Or they're going to say, no, this is a good guy. Okay, then what happened?
And I did go on a couple of outings with friends and had a couple of, like, kind of friendship dates. And I had a couple of those off feelings, like, this is just not it. Like, I wasn't interested. And that's why I didn't pursue any long-term dating. But then with him, it just clicked. Like, I was like, it feels right, which was so interesting. I was still skeptical, because I was like, oh, it's too early to, tell. And this is what's the wild part about our love story is it blows my mind. It blows my mind. I still am like, well, that's undeniable. But he ends up like saying, let me take you home. And I'm like, I'm not going to go home with you. I just met you. Like, I rode up with my friends. They have my keys in their car. No. And then he goes and, like, coordinates getting my keys. And he's like, find your iPhone on. Like, you're coming with me. Like, I didn't get enough time to talk to you. I'm going to take you home. And I'm like thinking, no.
I have a good feeling with you, but no.
My own skeptic is like, I was just like, I don't want you to know where I live.
Yeah. I want to get to know you even more. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, somehow I let him take me. I'm like, okay. So he's like, I got to get home to get to the babysitter because they have to leave at midnight. And I'm like, oh, well, that actually makes sense. Okay, you have kids.
But in all fairness, I want to say something. Again, you ended up allowing him to take you, but you already had your gut feeling. This guy. Okay, so let's talk about that. So if you have a gut feeling that the guy's good, then you go by what you're feeling. But if you have a gut feeling that the guy's good, and then when that time comes that you think he's going to take you home, and then your gut feeling is like, oh, I'm not feeling it, then don't go. So there was something that was in you that you felt good. And that's very important to know. Very safe. You felt safe around this guy. Yes.
I think my own reservation was that that I didn't want him to know where I lived because it was so soon. But my gut feeling was like, no, this is a good guy. And I could tell he had genuine interest. He's like, I didn't get enough time to get to know you. And I want to get to know you more. So can I have a little more time with you on a car ride? And so I'm thinking, okay. And I checked with all my friends too, because I was like, and they were all like, go.
They were
and so
cool.
I was like, okay.
They were
cool.
like, yeah, they all had the feeling.
They were feeling that too. Like, they had hung out with him all night. They felt his good energy. They felt like he was a good guy. So I'm like, okay. On the way home, babysitter's mom calls, "Hey, I'm ready to pick up my baby or my girl, and where are you at?" And he's like, "Oh, I'm 5 minutes from home." And I'm like, we're still 20 minutes from my home." So I'm thinking, "Oh, so is he just gonna like take me back to the place, or like you don't have enough time? Like you just said you're 5 minutes." And so he was 5 minutes. He's like, "Well," he hangs up and he's like, "Can I just take you to my place and then you'll Uber home?" And I'm like, "Why did I even go with you in the first place? I want to Uber home." Like, dang it. But we get to his, but then at the same time, I was like, "Oh, I want to make sure he's not married with kids." So I was like, this actually could be a good situation. So yeah, so I'm like, "Okay, yeah, cool. I'm gonna go check out his place and make sure that it's not like." So I said, "Okay." So we came, and then I was gonna stay outside and wait for the Uber, and he's like, "Well, just come inside while the Uber is coming." And I was like, "Okay." So then I come inside, he pulls out his guitar, and he starts, like, serenading me, and I'm like, "Oh my gosh, I actually might kinda like you," which is weird because I hadn't had this feeling in a really long time, like a really long time. And so I kinda get this feeling and I start to feel like I'm connecting with him. The wildest part about the story is during that time that I'm connecting, my ex gives me a call and I haven't talked to him. He's calling me at midnight and I'm like, "Why is he calling?" So I don't answer. He calls again, I don't answer because I'm like, "This is so weird."
This is
Like I'm
so
on this
weird, like,
first
so
date,
random. Why is my ex calling at midnight?
my ex is calling me. I'm like, this is weird. And then I don't answer either time. And I obviously told Sam, my now husband, I'm like, I don't know why he's calling me. He sends a text and he's like, "I just woke up from a dream. I hope he's treating you how you deserve. Like you're with a guy." And I'm like, "Oh my gosh." I'm like, I don't even know how to make sense of this. And my now
Oh, that
husband,
is a
Sam,
trip, girlfriend.
it was trippy. He goes, "Oh, well, when your soul, like connection leaves somebody, that person can feel it." And since I hadn't connected with anybody else, my soul was still connected with him, even though we were no longer together. And so that was how he explained it. And then he goes, "Wild. It's wild." And then he goes, "Hold on a second." He runs upstairs, brings his journal down, and he's like, "You're checking all of my boxes." And I'm like, "What do you mean your boxes?" He pulls his journal out and he has 4 pages on what he wants in a woman, down to every detail: hair color, eye color, uh, love language, body type, height.
What she is, how she's at, yeah, all the
All the things. So, yeah, like, has to have this. Don't want her to be, on any, like, weird depressive and anxiety places, and he just had, like, a whole list of things. Yeah, I had done the work. I'm like, I'm actually in that place, which was so weird. So I start reading this and I'm like, "Oh, I this is an autobiography about me." Like, this
Oh
is
my
so I'm
gosh!
just, like,
So
tripping, and
you're
I'm like,
manifesting him, he's manifesting you, and
"Wild."
ladies, I mean, seriously, aren't you loving this story?
It's
Aren't you
wild.
loving this? I mean, we had a woman that she was explaining like this is I mean, this is so relatable to a lot of our journeys. You have this, you get married, you think it's going to be forever, you're hoping
Mhm.
that, this is it. And then sometimes things don't work out. Like literally, it's out of your hands. Sometimes you can try all you want, two people, it takes two people to have a relationship. So she was in a situation like, okay, now what do I do? Then she took the time. Please take the time. If you're in
Yes,
a long time relationship and you get out of the relationship, my best advice that I'm going to give you is take some time. Take some
that's my best
time to look
idea.
inwards. Take time to, really reflect exactly what she did, what Dee did. Like, Dee, that's
Mhm.
pretty freaking amazing, mama. She took time and she reflected and she said, I'm going to go with, next time if I'm going to do this, I'm going to really go with what it is actually that I want.
What I
And then
want.
what you did is you manifested this man, mama. Wow.
Well,
And so the
he
best part, ladies,
manifested
that's why I
me.
tell you, there's a man out there for all of us. There it is, your true alignment if you give it the time and the space that you need. You don't have to rush anything because when it's right, it's right. And you can literally manifest this man. So don't give up hope. So what happens,
Can I
mama?
just say you're exactly where you need to be on your journey? Like, whatever that is, it's like you can look back at it in years or forward at it, but just know that this is all part of life's journey. Wherever you're at in your love story or your personal life, you're exactly where you need to be. And to just like really focus on what your desires are and put that out there for the universe to bring into your heart and soul.
Oh, that's beautiful, mama. So you ended up, so this man ends up obviously being your future husband, your husband, who's your husband now. And the things like literally like, was it just with you and him? Was it just kind of like, it just flew? It just went.
Yeah, so it really did. It flew quick. I mean, the timing, it takes a miracle to bring two people together. When you come together in a love, like, and you feel that bonding connection, it's like, wow, that's undeniable. There's obviously, and like, and at that time and place, if love is bringing you together, it's a miracle and it's meant to be. And if your intuition is telling you that things are off and things are hard and you need to reevaluate, that's also meant to be. Um, but yeah, so we come together and we're just, I mean, nonstop, like in love, just like I was the first time around, except for it was a lot more slower progressing.
Yes.
In the sense
And you're
of
different now. You were different. You were at a different place in your life. You were different.
Yes.
You were at a different place in your life that you kind of, like you said, you didn't know back then necessarily what you were looking for, but you fell in love and that was okay. But now you kind of pause and you're like, okay, now I know next time around. Because that's what I tell you. Sometimes don't give up on that. Don't give up on love because it's, second time around can be way better than the first time. Like that's true. That's real. That's real life. That's real life.
Yeah. And I say, like, don't give up on love and don't get yourself hung up on something that happened. My little boy was on a hike the other day and he just sat down. He's like, I can't go any further. We had gone like 3 miles and he's like, I can't do this anymore. I'm just going to sit here and I need water. And I'm like, well, you're never going to get water if you just stay in this same state. If you stay on your bum stuck here, you will never get to the water. And I thought about that in every life circumstance. We can do that to ourselves. Like you can get stuck in the mind frame of I'll never find love or I'll never. And it's like, if you don't get up and start walking again to get the water, then you're right. You will be stuck in this spot and you will never find the water. But if you decide, hey, I'm just going to take one step forward and I'm just going to start walking in that direction of love, or in his case, water, you'll get there. You'll get there. But you have to be willing not to stay stuck. Don't stay stuck. That's my advice.
I love that advice. You're tearing me up. Because I think women need to hear that, Dee. I think women get so stuck on like, it didn't work out, their past, or they feel like, they feel damaged, or they feel like, oh my God, now what? You know what I mean? Like, and they can't get over that. And what you're just telling them right now is get over it, move forward. This is real life.
Yeah. Take a step. You got to get to that water somehow. You've got to get to that love somehow. So take a step, stay optimistic, and just turn inward for yourself and your higher self and really be like, what is it that I need and want? And I'm going to go get that. I'm going to go after it. I'm going to move forward. And so that was my kind of mentality on this whole thing, is like, I've got to get out there. This is what I'm desiring. And the only way to do it is to put myself out there. And even though it terrifies me, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. Yeah. So that happened.
I love it. I love that because,
we have this slow progressing love, and then we spontaneously decide to elope in Italy. And so that happens. and here we are today. And
what's life like now? I want women to hear that. I know we got to have to wrap this up. I can't, because this is, I'm sorry, ladies. I'm sorry I have to get off with her. I know we want to keep talking. No, seriously, like what I want you to hear out of this story today is like how life moves on, how people are getting certain, like she was in a certain situation. She didn't give up. She kept moving forward. And now she's explaining to us, seriously, like she has the love of her life. Like, what is life with you guys? Like, I know that you guys, do you work with your husband? Like, what's life like really with you guys?
Yeah, so our mission and desires align, and our mission and desire is to build better people and to allow people to realize that you can experience life, and life is worth experience, and to kind of get over your fears and your doubts and your insecurities and really step into yourself. Because I think, again, it's about getting, like, you can get stuck and you can not live, or you can live because you only got one life. I mean, listen to your heart and intuition, but move forward with the things that you want and want to get out of life. And so our mission has aligned in the sense of we want to educate educate, we want to inspire, we want to build better people. And we're both passionate about personal development. We're both passionate about self-worth and self-growth and progressing. And so that's where our visions and missions have aligned in a lot of ways. And
Oh, I
so
love that. How did people get a hold of you? Like,
oh,
seriously, oh my gosh, that's
we have lots of
amazing.
cool ways to connect with us. And we have masterminds, and we have awesome training camps, and we have bucket list trips where we go and do high vibe things with high vibe people, and we go check things off the bucket list. Like, we're leaving for South Africa on Monday and go do a safari, and we're taking 25 couples with us, and they're gonna all get to experience things that
How
might
did
have been
like
on
so
their
like
bucket list.
let's say someone like let's say that the ladies that are with their man and they're like, oh my gosh, that sounds amazing. How do people like find that from you? You have a website or something? Like, how does
We have a website. It's called the taggertexperience.com. And then we also have the samtaggart.com can give you a list of all the other events and things that we do, and that you could participate in that we host together. And then I also have a women's group called She Leads, and it's about women's healing and trauma. And so you can be a part of that community as
oh,
well. And yeah,
ladies, follow her. Listen to this.
yeah.
Oh,
It's fun. So yeah, lots of ways to get in contact with us. Like I said, our mission is to build better people, and we just want to collectively work together on that. However it is, together, apart, men, women, all people, to just experience a more fulfilled life. That's our goal,
oh,
our mission.
what a story. That is so wonderful. Dee, thank you so much.
Thank
And I'm gonna
you.
give you the last like literally 30 seconds for the women that are listening to us today and you're inspiring them and they're feeling excited and they're like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. What do you want to leave them with today?
Yeah, I want to leave them with don't get stuck. Get out there, fall in love. It's worth it. Love is such a high vibrating frequency. So operate from a place of love. That's my big black dog.
It's time.
It's my time. So operate from a place of love and just do your best and know that you're exactly where you need to be and to continue to move forward.
Oh, yes. Oh my God. This was amazing. You're amazing. I appreciate you so
Thank you.
much.
I
Thank you
appreciate
for, no,
you.
thank you, Mama. Thank you for sharing your heart with us today. Thank you for your authenticity. Thank you for your realness. And thank you for really giving us today like a little bit of that excitement. Like, I'm so excited. I love this conversation. I love what you and your husband are doing. I love your mission. I'm all for it. And definitely, I want to be a part of that. But thank you. Thank you so much. And you know what? And let me tell you something. This is the coolest thing. So not only the show is, I'm able to, talk to these women that are having these amazing love stories just like you and have found love again and things are great. I'm actually thinking of also bringing on the husbands, so do like a couple thing. So I would love to have when I get to that point, and I'm not even kidding you, I might even fly to Utah because I know that you have your own podcast. But I would love to interview both of you and be able to get, I love to hear like how you had your version of that story, and then we gotta hear his version of that story. So this is gonna be continued. Thank
Yes, it
you.
will. Again, thank you so much, Charlene, for having me. Thank you for letting me share. I'm just so passionate about love, and I'm so passionate about personal development and growth, and for all you're doing to encompass that and to highlight that. So appreciate you and excited for future encounters.
Yes, I love it. Thank you so much, Mama. Thank you so much.
Okay, we'll see ya.
That's a wrap. Wow. What an inspiring love story from a woman who had her heart broken with her first marriage to taking the time to heal and be open to love again, and eventually meeting and marrying the love of her life. So beautiful. If you're loving this podcast and these incredible conversations, please hit the subscribe button and leave a 5-star review. Don't miss an episode because each week I'll be bringing on guests and experts who will share their knowledge about love, dating, and relationships so you can apply it into your own life. I'll see you next week. And until then, Cheers to great love